Story we brought you just last night. The GBI has now identified a body found earlier this week as 37-year-old Rossana Delgado. The Austell woman was a mother of two and a new grandmother. Now murder warrants have been issued for 4 suspects. 11 Alive's Mara Sirianni has the latest.
Chilling surveillance video from a Ross in Chamblee last Friday shows some of the final moments Rossana Delgado was seen alive. Now 26-year-old Oscar Manuel Garcia of Austell, 30-year-old Megan Colon of Stone Mountain, 29-year-old Mario Alberto Barbosa Juarez of Oklahoma City, and 35-year-old Juan Rodriguez of Gainesville are all wanted for murder. The GBI says around 7 a.m. Tuesday, deputies with the Gilmer County Sheriff's Office conducted a welfare check at a home in Cherry Log. There, they found Delgado's body. Investigators say she had been reported missing 4 days earlier in Barrow County and had last been seen in DeKalb County on April 16th. That night, close friends say she called her husband right before picking up a person while driving for Lyft, and it was the last time he heard from her.
There's a lot of other young Latina women living in the area, a lot of them doing Lyft driving, a lot of, Venezuelan immigrants do taxi work. There's just a fear swooping the community right now.
Investigators believe the 4 suspects may no longer be in Georgia. They also think there's a 5th suspect involved who has not yet been identified. Authorities say Colon may be using the alias Grace Beta. She's believed to be traveling with her underage children.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Crime Journal. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into the case. On April 16, 2021, Rossana Delgado, a 37-year-old rideshare driver and mother of 2, was lured to Plaza Fiesta Mall in DeKalb County, believing it was for a shopping trip. Instead, she was tortured at several locations for several days before being killed, dismembered, and burned at a cabin in Gilmer County by associates of a drug trafficking organization, according to court documents. The cabin had been booked through an online vacation rental company using a stolen identity. Delgado called her husband, Yanni Castro, on the day she was abducted and told him she was dropping off her last passenger and then heading home for the day. But he became worried when she never came home that night and traced her last moves through her phone, finding a bloody face mask at one of the places she was taking, prompting him to call police. Investigators eventually found Delgado's body at a cabin 120 miles from her last location. In May of 2021, 3 suspects were arrested in Reynosa, Mexico: Oscar Garcia, Megan Colon, and Juan Antonio Vega. A month later, Juan Ayla Rodriguez was arrested in Durango, Mexico, and extradited to the U.S., according to the GBI. The other 5 suspects, Eva Martinez, Terry Amanda Gardner, Patrick Harvard, Calvin Harvard, and Sean Calloway, were arrested at various times during the investigation. 3 other suspects are still at large. In February of 2022, a grand jury indictment was returned against 14 defendants, and the case was scheduled to go on trial on May 1st. Prior to the start of the trial, several defendants decided to plead guilty on various charges. On April 26, 2023, Juan Ayla Rodriguez pleaded guilty to kidnapping, concealing death of another, aggravated battery, and violation of the RICO Act, and was sentenced to life in prison. Juan Antonio Vega pleaded guilty to kidnapping, concealing death of another, aggravated battery, and violation of the RICO Act, and was sentenced to 70 years, and he must serve 30 years in the Georgia State's prison system. Megan Colon pleaded guilty to violation of the RICO Act and was sentenced to 20 years in prison and must serve 18 years in the Georgia State prison system. Eva Martinez pleaded guilty to violation of the RICO Act and was sentenced to 20 years and must serve 13 years in the Georgia State prison system. Additionally, on April 26th, Terry Amanda Gardner, Patrick Harvard, Calvin Harvard, and Sean Calloway pleaded guilty to the violation of the RICO Act and were sentenced to serve time in the Georgia State prison system to be followed by probation. However, there are 3 defendants who are still on the run. They are Mario Alberto Barbosa Juarez for the offenses of malice murder, felony murder, kidnapping, concealing death of another, removal of body parts from the scene of death, aggravated battery, and violation of the RICO Act. Carolina Jasmine Rodriguez Ramirez for the offenses of felony murder, kidnapping, and violation of the RICO Act. Maria Catherine Encarnacion for the offenses of felony murder, kidnapping, and violation of the RICO Act. Delgado leaves behind 2 young children. Anyone with information about this case is encouraged to call the GBI tip line at 1-800-597-8477. All tips will remain anonymous.